Bradford City have got 1 foot in League One as Morecambe picked up a vital 3 points against promotion chasers AFC Wimbledon, and Carlisle held the league leaders Walsall to just a point. And so much more drama happened in Game Week 35, and in today's video we're going to go through and have a deeper dive into all 12 matches in a little bit more detail. If you do want to enjoy, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. 80 likes as always would be massively appreciated, and let's get straight into it. We'll start out firstly then with Accrington Stanley 2, MK Dons 0, and it was a pretty comfortable victory for the home side and a very important 3 points for them. Again, MK Dons massively flattered to deceive, defensively all over the place. The first goal that Accrington score, cross comes into the box and Tyler Walton, I believe former Southport man, has just a free header inside the penalty area. It's absolutely terrible defending once again from MK Dons, and the second goal is no better. It's some nice build-up play from Stanley on the edge of the penalty area, but it's so weak and sloppy from the visitors, and it's just far too easy, to be fair, for O'Brien Whitmarsh to finish into the back of the net. You look at the stats from the game, MK Dons once again dominated possession, 4 shots, none on target, barely created a quarter of an expected goal, whereas the home team, 29% of the ball, 10 shots, 3 on target, clearly much more clinical as well. MK Dons, are they slowly going to get dragged into this relegation battle? Only 10 points above the drop. Yes, they've got a game in hand, but where are their next points going to come from? Accrington, that is a massive 3 points for them, and with Morecambe winning, that they also needed to win and match their results. I really do think it will be a relegation shootout between the bottom 3, but we could see teams like Gillingham, MK Dons potentially dragged into that. I mean, Chesterfield I think will be fine because they're 13 points above the drop, but goodness me, we're going to get onto them later. They're in horrendous form. This was probably a more important game for Accrington than it was for MK Dons, but considering they've just changed manager, I know they've not appointed a new manager yet, have the visitors, but getting rid of Scott Lindsay, I thought they'd maybe try and play a different style of football, especially if you're going away to Accrington on a Tuesday night, but no, stubborn style of play, more than happy to have loads of the ball and create nothing with it. Terrible football to watch. Picked up 1 point out of their last possible 15 available. I think now they will be the worst team in the league over the last 15 games. Absolutely shocking, and obviously they've got no chance at the playoffs now, but a big 3 points for Accrington. My team Bradford City took a massive step towards promotion as we battered at Cheltenham Town 3-0 at home, and as much as the scoreline looks very good, we're going to look at the lineup in a moment and see the amount of players Bradford City were missing for this game, and we dominated Cheltenham from start to finish. If that game finishes 6-0, I don't think anybody can complain. George Lapsley with his first start for Bradford City, and he gets a brace on that. Teo Adaramola getting the assist for the first goal. The Crystal Palace loanee has been absolutely excellent since joining in January, and again, a brilliant ball into the box and a great diving header from George Lapsley. The second goal is great pressing from Jamie Walker. He then squares it to George Lapsley with a very cute finish over the goalkeeper to make it 2-0, and then 7 minutes later, the game was pretty much wrapped up at 3-0. Obviously, Cheltenham have had a few decent comebacks recently against Barrow and Walsall, so I certainly wasn't thinking that the game was done, but nice to see Michael Mellon get his second goal in as many matches and yet another assist for Jamie Walker. He's really revitalised his Bradford City career. Couldn't get even on the bench around January sort of time, got an opportunity in the FL Trophy when a lot of our attacking players were cup tied against Rotherham, and since then he's never really looked back. Worked his way into the starting 11, has been absolutely brilliant since that moment, and when Neil Burns getting 90 minutes against you, when Clark Adore is getting 14 minutes on off the bench, that shows how comfortable we were in the game. But you look at the firepower that we were missing, this is not how we lined up. What on earth is going on here? Brandon Kaler was holding midfielder, Mellon was up front, and Lapsley was in the left number 10 position, but no Andy Cook, no Anthony Sarsfield, no Alex Patterson, no Bobby Poynton. That's arguably our 4 best players, and we absolutely played Cheltenham off the park. The number 24, Power, he was absolutely awful. I'm pretty sure they weren't playing a 4-4-2. I think they were playing a 5-2-3, and Power was playing right side centre half, and Lapsley absolutely dominated him in the air. I mean, he's been given a 10 match rating according to Flashscore, but he was absolutely terrible. Just lost Lapsley for both of our goals. Mellon led the line very well once again. Baldwin was brilliant. Halliday, excellent. Jack Shepherd, absolutely outstanding again. Richie Smallwood, the glue in that midfield. Even Brandon Kaler had a decent appearance once again, playing as a holding midfielder or as a left wing back. Cheltenham, though, they didn't really lay a glove on us, in all honesty. 8 shots, only 2 on target. We had 25 shots. Yes, only 7 on target, but their keeper made a brilliant save in the first half. It was total domination. This is some of the best football I've ever seen seen at Valley Parade. I think Alexander's got us playing a brilliant style of playing, even when we're missing some very key players for us, like the four that I've just mentioned, alongside the likes of Lewis Richards, Tyreek Wright, Kieran Kelly, just to name a few more who are currently unavailable for Bradford City. We're playing some unbelievable stuff. We're now only 2 points off of top of the table. There's an 8-point gap between ourselves and 4th place Notts County. We were the only team in the entire top 8 to win in this round of fixtures. I feel like this result probably does kill any outside chances Cheltenham had of wanting to get into the playoffs. They're now 9 points off that. Yes, they've got a game in hand, but we've only 2 points picked up out of their last possible 9. I can't quite see them getting in at this stage. But I was surprised, I must admit, to see the likes of Thomas, Dieng, Miller all on the bench in a game like this, because they didn't really have much going forward. Archer looked decent at times, and when Thomas came on off the bench, I thought he caused us a little bit of a threat, but Taylor here, absolutely awful, and this was a brilliant 3 points. Like I mentioned, with the amount of players we had out unavailable for this game, absolutely massive win. Bromley completed the double over Doncaster Rovers without reply. DJ Aleraway, I think former Charlton Athletic man, scoring the only goal of the game. He was just free inside the penalty area from a cross. Really sloppy defending from Doncaster, but judging by the highlights, how Doncaster haven't scored in this game, I will never know. Let's just have a quick look at the stats. 33 shots, 8 on target, 2.23 XG created. Bromley only had 2 shots on target in the entire game. Doncaster completely dominated the match, but just could not score. Luke Molyneux had some chances, well saved by the keeper. Jordan Gibson had a couple as well. Billy Sharp missed some absolute sitters. A lot of these come in the second half. 23 shots in that second half. But we have a look at the lineup. What did make me laugh is Grant McCann actually subbed off his entire back four during this game. I don't know why, but you just very rarely see that, don't you? But a brilliant win for Bromley. They continue their very good run of form. We have a look at Bromley's last couple of matches. Out of their last 6 games, they've won 5. The only team they've lost to, Bradford City. It goes to show how big that 3 points was for Graham Alexander's side last Tuesday. But very frustrating times for Doncaster Rovers. They haven't really capitalised on all the other teams around them, not really picking up many points, obviously, apart from Bradford City. Bromley, they've now got a real opportunity to make it into the playoffs this season. Now only just 4 points off at this moment in time. They do have a real chance at the moment. I feel like Colchester upwards probably has a real chance unless someone goes on a real good run towards the end of the campaign. I don't think it's the end of the world for Doncaster because no one around them really picked up points, but it was an opportunity for them to gain ground. They've just not lost any ground, and with them having played a game or 2 more than the 3 teams directly below them, they could have done with at least getting a point out of this game, especially with how well they played. They might come back to look at this game come the end of the season and think about all them chances that we missed in that one. That's where we didn't get over the line, but they are still 3rd in the table. Nothing really to be too concerned about. They've just won 3 straight on the bounce. I wouldn't be too frustrated if I was a Doncaster fan thinking about the long term. Yes, on the night when you've made that long journey down, it will be very frustrating, but I still think the promising signs are there. They're playing very well, which I know they've had times throughout this season where they've not played well and they've won, but now they're playing very well and obviously they've lost, but I think it will just be a blip. I expect them to bounce back on Saturday. I can't remember who they play, no idea who they play, but Doncaster, they're very consistent. I see them bouncing back. Bottom of the table, Carlisle played out a 1-1 draw with top of the table Walsall, and this could probably be the best thing that Mark Hughes has ever done for Bradford City now that he's manager of Carlisle. Walsall took the lead through Taylor Allen. A great strike, but really poor defending, to be fair, from Carlisle. He's just completely unmarked at the back post after a great ball in from Ryan Sturk, but the Blues would only be behind for 1/4 of an hour as Elliot Embleton were whipping a corner on the right hand side, and Aaron Hayden basically had a free header into the back of the net. After that, both teams had some decent chances. Gabriel Breeze making a few decent saves. Carlisle had a big opportunity late on in the game, but Jordan Jones, unfortunately for him, could not quite convert. As a Bradford City fan, this is a brilliant result both ways really, because it means Carlisle, they're not really much closer to safety, and also Walsall, we've gained 2 points on them now, so lovely stuff. Judging by the stats, Walsall were probably again the better of the 2 sides. They created some good chances, but just really lacking that firepower in front of goal. They kept telling me that they weren't a one-man team, they don't rely on Nathan Lowe, but the goals have really dried up since he has obviously returned to Championship side at Stoke City. Charlie Lakin also at the woodwork as well in the second half, I believe, but just a frustrating day again. I think at the office for Walsall. We look at where that leaves them now in the league table. Just 2 points picked up out of their last possible 9 available. At one point, the gap between Bradford City and Walsall was 17 points. It's now only 2. We could go top of the table by Saturday. I'm sure Walsall fans are very, very nervous at the moment. They've gone from, yeah, we're comfortably going to win the league to, we'll just take 3rd place at this point. Because I think if they fall into the playoffs, they've got absolutely no chance. We've seen it in years gone by where teams have crumbled out of the top 3 late on, not necessarily to this extent. You think the likes of, was it Stockport or it might be Northampton? Yeah, it was Northampton, wasn't it? With a Bristol Rovers drama on the final day. They fell into the playoffs and just absolutely crumbled. So Walsall, for them, they're going to be hoping that this 10-point gap doesn't get overturned. Is it likely that'll happen? I think Notts, Wimbledon and Port Vale at the moment are all providing a little bit of inconsistency, but we'll get onto some of them later on in today's video. So there is still a possibility Walsall will finish in that top 3. I know it seems a bit crazy to say when they are still 10 points clear, but their form and their lack of clinical nature really does concern me. In terms of Carlisle, good point for them. Now 4 unbeaten. They've picked up 6 points out of their last possible 12 available. That is probably good enough form to keep you up. They are still 3 points from safety, but they do now have a game in hand. Win that game in hand and they will be out of the relegation zone. It was important for them to not lose any ground on Tranmere. Obviously, they have lost 2 points on Morecambe, but they've not lost any ground on getting out of the actual relegation zone themselves. It doesn't make any difference if you finish 24th or 23rd. Come the end of the season, it'll make a big difference for them if they do finish 22nd. And every game week that goes by, I change who I think will stay up, who will go down. As of right now, I think Carlisle, just defensively, they're really, really solid now under Mark Hughes, and I think it'll be a real tough ask for both Morecambe and Tranmere to survive. I think one of them is definitely going to go down. Will it be with the other one or will it be with Carlisle? I guess only time will tell. Colchester United continued their unbeaten run with a 1-0 victory at home to Chesterfield. John Gordon scoring the only goal of the game. Yet another assist as well for Jack Payne. But we have to talk about Jamie Grimes once again for Chesterfield. Absolutely awful footballer. If Chesterfield want to get anywhere near promotion next season, he can be nowhere near their squad. He can't even be 4th choice centre-half. He is absolutely awful. Pretty much since I've been doing this series of the League 2 roundup, every week it feels like I'm talking about him making another individual error. He's a 6'3", 6'4", maybe centre half, and he loses 5'10" John Gordon. It's not like he's lost 6'4" Fika Kelleher, and he just allowed him to have a free header, absolutely bullied. And it was the same on Saturday as well, just piss poor defending, absolutely weak as piss. Paddy Madden also gets himself sent off in the 89th minute. I think the tackle itself, it's not a great challenge, but I don't think it's necessarily a red card tackle. I think the scissor motion is what makes it a red card, and his reaction I think would be a little bit concerning if I was a Chesterfield fan. He kind of just looks up and he's like, yeah, that just seems like job done to me. You know, I'm going to have 3 games now at home with this team. I've got nothing left to play for. I've not really done much this season. I'm picking up quite a nice wage, so I'm happy just to sit home for the next 3 games now. Don't like that whatsoever. I could be maybe reading into it a little bit too much, but I actually look at this Colchester team and I think, how have they not been anywhere near the playoffs this season? They've got a really, really good squad, and this is not a bad team whatsoever, especially for League 2 level. And you look at the people they're bringing on off the bench, just some real quality there. Lyle Taylor, Samson Tavidi, Harry Anderson, Vincent Kane Young, Kane Vincent Young, that's the one, get his name right, Sam. They've got a good team. I think anything less than a top 10 finish would have been an underachieving season so far for Colchester, but recently they have obviously been on a very good run of form. I actually want to see how long has their unbeaten run been going on for, because it feels like quite a while. Their last defeat was the middle of January, so fair play to the Cowleys. Yes, at times they've had some frustrating results, the likes of the draw away to Harrogate, the draw away to Carlisle, but they have picked up some decent points against Wimbledon and Notts County as well, and they've won all the other games in that time. They're now 6 points from the playoffs with a game in hand. I think they're the lowest team down who have a real possibility of getting into the playoffs just because of how consistent they've been for quite a while now. Chesterfield, they're another team that are on the beach. They've got absolutely nothing to play for. 4 defeats on the bounce, and it just doesn't look good for them, does it? It was an extremely action-packed game at Grimsby Road as Fleetwood battered Crewe Alexandra 4-1, and Ryan Graydon was up to his tricks. So once again, I'm telling you, that man is going to win the Golden Boot. Yet another goal for him, and real composure to finish over the goalkeeper on his weaker left foot. The visitors double their lead at just 22 minutes later as Graydon finds himself on the assist sheet this time. Great cross into the box and a great finish from Marsh. He tucks it beautifully into the corner first time, real nice finish. Then Reece Bennett gets another goal. He makes it 3-0 with just a free header. Really poor defending from Crewe. Alexandra, you would expect if Dimitri was in there, he'd organise them a little bit better. Patterson makes it 4, and what an unbelievable goal that is. Does a nice little Maradona turn and hits it from about 30 yards out, right into the top corner. Great strike. They will be very disappointed they haven't kept the clean sheet, as obviously Chris Long did pull a goal back in the 91st minute, but Fleetwood were absolutely excellent in this game. I do think we should talk about the Shiloh Tracy injury. It sounds like he's had quite a bad leg break, and obviously I wish him a very speedy recovery. What I would say though, I don't think it's a foul whatsoever. I think the Fleetwood player is fully committed, and Tracy goes into it, and then as the motion of the tackle is then about to make impact, he then seems to kind of back out of it. And if you don't go in full-blooded into a tackle, it's something that you learn when you're about 8 years old. You're going to come out injured, and that's unfortunately what has happened for Shiloh Tracy. And obviously when he eventually has his operation, he sees the bloody scoreline. He's not going to be very impressed with that whatsoever. But brilliant win for Fleetwood, and once again they've had less of the ball. Crewe very happy for the possession, but created very little. Fleetwood very clinical as well going forward, and I don't think they've got any real chance of getting into the playoffs. They're 7 points off with no games in hand. Recently they have picked up a little bit of consistency, so they might look back at the end of the season and think about that defeat to Carlisle, that defeat to Morecambe, that's 6 extra points. That could have them 1 point outside the playoffs at this moment in time. But football is all about if, buts and maybe, so still a brilliant win for them. Again, it is all about building for next season. Crewe, I'm sure they'll be very disappointed with the result. They've not really capitalised on any of the teams above them, not picking up many points whatsoever. Only Port Vale were the only team above them, in the 4 teams above them, to actually pick up a point, which I'm sure they're going to be very frustrated with that result. They have not been able to capitalise on that, but again, really missing Dimitri in this defence in my opinion, and a brilliant win for Fleetwood. I mean, look at the amount of green that we can see here, and Ryan Graydon up to his old tricks again. That man's winning the Golden Boot. Grimsby Town were held at home by Tranmere Rovers. Sam Finlay opened the scoring on 10 minutes, but in my opinion, the scoring should have been opened about 10 seconds before that. Looking on the highlights, for me, that ball originally goes over the line. It obviously wasn't given by the officials. Jennings then eventually lays the ball back to Sam Finlay on the edge of the box, and he whips it beautifully into the bottom corner. Unfortunately for Tranmere, they couldn't hold on to all 3 points, as Jordan Turnbull would basically catch the ball inside his penalty area. Danny Rose then converted from 12 yards, sending Luke McGee the wrong way. And I think, again, going into the game, Tranmere would have definitely been happier than Grimsby with a point. But Grimsby have gained a point on a lot of teams above them. I know they'll be wanting to win that, especially at home to a team who are down and around the relegation sort of places. But since obviously Nigel Adkins has been sacked, I do think Tranmere are unbeaten. So it's not the worst point in the world, but I do certainly think there'll be a lot of frustration amongst the Mariners fan base that they haven't capitalised. If they won this game, they'd have been level on points with the playoffs once again. But I still think the promising signs are there for Grimsby. They haven't really created that much, in all honesty, which I think will concern them slightly. But Tranmere are always going to be a stubborn team, especially when they have had that change of manager. So they're all wanting to put on their best performance for a new potential manager who does come in. In terms of Tranmere, they've not lost any ground on the 2 teams that are below them significantly. Obviously, Morecambe have gained 2 points on them, but if they would have lost, I'm sure this result would have felt a lot more catastrophic, with obviously Morecambe winning and Carlisle drawing. They are now only 1 point above the drop zone. They do have the worst goal difference in the league, but it is back-to-back draws since obviously Andy Crosby has taken over from Nigel Adkins on an interim basis. It'll be interesting to see, will he keep the job until they lose, or will they still be looking to bring in a new manager as soon as possible? But I think it's a good point for Tranmere, maybe a bit of a frustrating one for Grimsby, and yeah, not an ideal night for both teams. I think both teams would have liked to have won. Both teams are going to have to settle for the point on this occasion. Derek Adams, Morecambe massively helped out Bradford City. Yes, they needed the 3 points because they're in a relegation battle, but Wimbledon losing again is massive news for Bradford City. And it was 2 former Bantams who were on the goal contribution sheet. I think it's Adam Lewis swings in a ball, brilliant cross into the box. Jan Songo heads back across goal, and Leangle taps in to the roof of the net. And therefrom in, Wimbledon just could not break Morecambe down. I think the Wombles made loads of changes for this game, and they just never really looked like scoring. Josh Nerfville was the only real player who had a bit of impetus down at that right-hand side, but apart from that, Piggott and Kelly, they're never really going to score goals, especially Piggott. I thought he would flop at the start of the season. I predicted it. I don't even think he scored more than 5 league goals so far this campaign. Mike Stevens came off the bench alongside Brown, Bogle. They went and made changes, but they just could not get back into this game. A massive 3 points for Morecambe, and again, a lot of the teams in this top 8, because they haven't won, they will be feeling very frustrated that they haven't gained ground on any other team. Yes, they've not really lost all too much from a Wimbledon point of view. It is now back-to-back defeats for them and just 2 points picked up out of their last possible 12 available. Before that, I thought they were a dead cert to get automatic promotion this season because they just knew how to win football matches, but their goals have massively dried up. They started leaking a couple in as well now. They've still got the best defensive record in the league, but it's now only 6 better than second Bradford City, and at one point they were like 10-15 better, weren't they, than the second best in the entire division. So maybe some concerning signs there. They weren't really creating all too much. Morecambe scored with their only shot on target in the game. Wimbledon had some good chances. There was 27 shots in the game, but none of them were really clear cut for either side, and that is a massive 3 points for Morecambe. They are now only 1 point from safety. Again, I backed them to stay up at the start of the season. Saturday's result would have feel like a real kick in the bollocks really for Morecambe, wouldn't it? And at that point, I'm thinking they've lost to Gillingham. I think they are now down. I think we do need to accept that. But they've lost that one. They've then won this game against Wimbledon, so it kind of does balance itself out in the end. But I'm sure they'll look back on it and think, well, maybe if we'd have just held on against Gillingham, we'd be at the relegation zone right now, which would obviously be massive for them on a psychological point of view. But a brilliant 3 points for Derek Adams' side. And I've seen a few people maybe question if Johnny Jackson is the right man to take Wimbledon up. Wombles fans, let me know what your thoughts are down below, as it is only 2 points now in your last 12 available. Not 12 games. It was a Bobby Camwell masterclass at Rodney Parade as his 21-minute hat-trick sunk John Coleman's Gillingham at once against 3 absolutely brilliant goals, to be fair, all very well taken. And we've seen it a few times now since January where the opposition just can't deal with the pace that Newport have got going forward. 3 well-taken goals from Camwell. The second one is a great finish, to be fair, on the left foot. Max Clark nearly keeps it out, but like I mentioned, he's a very, very good player for this level. They did pull a goal back, did the Gills, in the second half. Some pretty sloppy goalkeeping from Townsend, and then it's a great header, to be fair, from Jimmy J. Morgan. I was surprised not to see Gillingham make a single substitution in the entire game, to be honest with you. They also picked up, 6 bookings? I also see that the host picked up 4 yellows, so I don't know if the referee was a little bit whistle happy, card happy potentially, but it seems in the second half he was very busy with his slice of cheese, so maybe a lack of discipline potentially from a Gillingham point of view. After the high, I'm sure it would feel like after the win against Morecambe on Saturday, they're probably now back down to reality with a very big low. And for the Gillingham fans who just skipped to their section, thank you very much for George Lapsley. He's very good at football. If you just want to go back to the Bradford City part, I'd praise him quite well because he's a very, very good footballer. So thank you very much for giving us him on a free transfer. But I feel like any team that employs Max Hamer and starts him regularly in the middle of their defence is not going to get very far as a football club. Again, Gillingham just really, really frustrated. They had a few chances in this game, to be fair, but it's really lacking that clinical nature. Newport very clinical, especially in that first half. They go on very streaky runs, the Newport. They'll win a few, then they'll lose a few. Now, obviously, they've won this game, so maybe they'll win their next couple as well. But I think they're another team that are definitely on the beach at the moment, similar to your Chesterfields, your Barrows, probably your MK Dons, you would potentially say, but they could maybe be dragged into it because I don't see where their next points are going to come from. Gillingham, if they didn't win on Saturday, I'd be very concerned about them because they would only be 21st in the table. So Saturday was a big 3 points, but I don't see where their next win is going to come from. They've got Bradford City on Saturday as well, so that's going to be no easy game for them. Let me have a look at what the difference between their home and away form has been so far this season. So at home so far this season, Gillingham are the 19th best team in the division, and away from home, they're 16th. They've not won away from home in their last 5 at least. They've only won 3 away games all season. They're just a poor side. A lot of their fans are now wanting Scott Lindsay in. I don't think that's necessarily the right appointment whatsoever. I don't see that being a good fit there. I think they'll stick with Coleman between now and the end of the season. I didn't really understand the appointment in the first place. I still don't understand it now. It's just another bad night at the office, but great for Bobby Camwell. So I would assume maybe his first senior hat-trick. Is that wrong? Exiles fans, let me know down below. It was a night to forget for Stuart Maynard's Notts County as they failed to capitalise on pretty much all the other results around them going in their favour. Kean Spence opened the scoring for the visitors on at 10 minutes. I think this is Barrow's first away win since the middle of September. It was just a free tap-in. Terrible defending from Notts County, absolutely all over the place. And if only they had somebody like Aidan Baldwin in their defence last night, they might have been able to keep another clean sheet. He's been part of a defence that have kept 9 clean sheets in the last 11 matches, and he has been absolutely unbelievable in that time. I think they've only conceded 2 goals goals in our last 11, and he's played, I think, every minute. He's even done a job in central midfield like he did for 15 minutes last night. Absolutely brilliant football. The score is doubled on the 62nd minute. Sam Foley with a brilliant header, to be fair, loops into the far corner. Could Jatta do a little bit better with that? Potentially so, but their 2-goal cushion would only last for 2 minutes, as there was some absolutely terrible defending from Barrow, running into each other, getting stuck in the mud rail, and it's a great finish, to be fair, from Connor Grant. Notts County had some real good opportunities in this game. Jatta missed a fair few, and I've been saying this for quite a while now. Alexander Jatta's actually not that good. He really isn't. And I've said that about Langstaff as well last season, thinking back, because they both miss so many big chances, but because they score so many goals, and I do just want to add there, I think Langstaff's a lot better than Alexander Jatta, by the way, but they're not as good as what maybe their goal record would say, because their conversion rates are poor, the big chances that they miss is both poor for both players, and you see Langstaff now, yes, I know it's a big step up to the Championship, but he's really struggling at that level, because Millwall are not creating as many chances as what Notts County do. I think if Jatta would have got his £750,000 move to the Championship, he would have also struggled as well. He's got a good profile, but he's just not a very good finisher, in my personal opinion. And Notts, they were really paid to rue them missed chances in the end, and Barrow only had 2 shots on target, only 26% of possession. Notts dominated the game, but there's just no tempo to their play. They're so flat in it, and they're really missing that creative spark of a David McGoldrick, a Jody Jones, and I think they rely heavily on both of them players. The ball was in the back of the net for 2-2, another great volley, to be fair, from George Abbott, but it does take a deflection off of Nick Cerula, who is definitely offside. I don't think there's really much opinion about that. He is clearly offside when the ball is struck, but I think teams need to be aware of that. We've seen Cheltenham away, Accrington away. Abbott has certainly got that in his locker from set pieces, so teams certainly need to be a lot more aware of that. I think Cerula needs to be starting more football matches, in my opinion, but they're massively missing Jones and McGoldrick. In terms of the league table then, like I mentioned, Notts are failing to capitalise on the teams around them, not really doing too well. If they won this game, they would now be back in the top 3 with automatic promotion back in their hands, but just 1 win in their last 5, and it was a scraping past a terrible Tranmere team who were still employing Nigel Adkins at the time. In terms of Barrow, like I mentioned, their season is largely over now. They've got to the 40-point mark. They've not really got much to play for, so they might as well play Tyler Smith quite consistently and hope that he can start scoring goals, because I think he had a pretty decent performance again, but a brilliant win for Andy Wing's side. Port Vale and Harrogate played out a 0-0 draw, and I know Port Vale have got injuries at this moment in time, but they're not really creating too many clear-cut chances. They had a few opportunities, but nothing where you think, wow, how have they not scored that one? Darren Moore's football can be like that at times. They're very hard to beat, but they don't really create many chances. We saw that with his Sheffield Wednesday side. Harrogate had the odd opportunity, but again, they didn't really create all too much. I do think they are lacking a bit of firepower at the top end of the pitch, Port Vale, at this moment in time. Not really got much creativity in this midfield, in my personal opinion. And you look at, obviously, Curtis, a winger, having to play as a striker. Laurent Talai, his first season, I think, in the EFL, he's been relied on heavily at this moment in time. You look at the options that they've got on off the bench. They could have maybe brought Hackford on, maybe Chislett, but they're just really lacking firepower. The likes of Jayden Stockley, I know he's been someone who's been heavily criticised by Port Vale, but he gives them a different outlet. It means you can go along into him and play off of second balls. In terms of what it means for Port Vale, in the end, it's actually quite a good point with Crewe, Wimbledon, Notts County and Doncaster all losing. If they do win both their games in hand, they will obviously go into that top 3, but it puts a little bit more pressure on them once again. It's definitely a point gained on all the teams around them, but when you think about what could have been, if they'd have been on 59 points, they win their 2 games and it's 65. They've got a little bit of a cushion between the teams around them, so it does now put a bit of pressure on them 2 games in hand. Harrogate, I'm sure they'll be happy with this point. They've been on a decent run of form recently. 7 points picked up out of their last possible 12 available. They're now 8 points above the drop. I don't really see them getting dragged into it all too much. They're definitely in a relegation battle, but I don't think it's where they need to be nervy. I think they'll be quite comfortable come the end of the season. I'm sure they'll definitely be the happier of the 2 teams of a point. And the final game for us to go through and review then is Swindon 2 Salford 2. Quite an action-packed game, to be fair, and I'm sure Swindon will be very disappointed that they've led twice and also been pegged back twice. The first goal is a great corner into the box, to be fair, from Will Wright. Tom Nichols gets a good connection on it, but I think it's going straight into the keeper's hands, and I think it deflects off of Luke Garber into the back of the net. Hakeem Adoulkan would level things up at 20 minutes later then with a great strike, to be fair, into the near post. Maybe won that corner Ripley will be a little bit disappointing with, but I must admit I was a bit surprised by the mentality of Salford to go out and celebrate an equaliser rather than get the ball, get back to the halfway line, because they've still got an outside chance to make it into the playoffs. But I feel like that mentality of, well, I've scored a goal, so it doesn't really matter about the team, which I think you can get with Hakeem Abdullah, and obviously he only signed a one-year contract after turning down quite a big deal at Doncaster in the summer. Didn't quite get the offers that he probably thought, had to settle for Salford, and now it seems like quite clearly he is playing for himself, in my personal opinion. Harry Smith would put the hosts back in front in the second half, to be fair. Great ball. I don't know if it's meant to be a shot, but it ends up being a great pass to Harry Smith, who converts into the roof of the net, and then straight from kickoff, Salford equalise. I think Tyrese Forner is played in on goal. He kind of gives the keeper the eyes. I think Conor Ripley expects him to go to the far post. He shoots at the near post. He gets a slight touch on it onto the post, and then Kelly Namai is there to tap in, I believe, his second appearance since coming back from injury, and his first start since then as well. I look at the players that Salford have got in their team, and they've got some decent options, to be fair. They are now rotating between them. They've got a couple of players recently back from injury. I think Swindon have been unbeaten at home for quite a while now. This is kind of just turned out to be a mid-table clash. I don't see either team doing much come the end of the season. Salford just 1 point out of their last possible 12. Swindon have been on a decent run, but I do think the playoffs are too far away for them now. I want to have a look at the home form table in terms of Swindon's last 10 games. Only lost once at home in their last 10. Bradford, look at that. We've won 10 on the bounce. Absolutely brilliant stuff. I think Swindon will definitely be a bit more frustrated than Salford with the point, having led twice in the game, but on the whole, for me, I think it's probably a decent point for either side because they're not really going anywhere, so it's about building for next season. To summarise my thoughts then, after game week at 35, it seems like Bradford City, the only team who want promotion, and I would say we've now got 1 foot in League One. I know that we need to kind of get as many points in March because we've got a very tough run in April, but I would back us to beat any team in this league at this moment in time, home or away, but especially at home. I know we've got a tricky run, the likes of Notts County, Doncaster, Crewe, Chesterfield now is looking a little bit of an easy game, but we've got Swindon away in there as well. I would say out of our final 11 matches, we probably need to win 6 to guarantee automatic promotion, maybe 7 or 8 to guarantee the title, which I think is more than doable with how the team are playing at this moment in time. A lot of frustration though for Walsall, Doncaster, Notts County, Wimbledon, Port Vale and Crewe, even Grimsby as well, that they haven't been able to capitalise on the teams around them, minus Bradford, obviously dropping points. A brilliant win for Bromley, a good win as well for Colchester. Then we've just got a lot of mid-table mediocrity. MK Dons and Gillingham now potentially dragged into the relegation battle. Harrogate have been on some good form recently. Accrington 2 wins in their last 3. Tranmere a little bit harder to beat as well. Morecambe a massive 3 points after their defeat on Saturday, and Carlisle are cooking up something under Mark Hughes. Just 1 goal conceded in their last 4 matches as well. They've conceded the least amount of goals in the entirety of the bottom 4. Who do I think will go down? As of right now, I've said for a long time it'll be Carlisle and Tranmere. I really don't know. Genuinely, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody like an MK Dons or a Gillingham go down, because Carlisle are very good. Morecambe are now picking up points. Tranmere are picking up the odd point, but they're not winning enough games. I would say Tranmere are definitely down, and then it's one between Morecambe and Carlisle. I'm still going to go Carlisle because I think they lack goals, whereas Morecambe, they can grind it out. That's what I'm going to go with for now. In terms of promotion, top 3 is going to be Bradford City, it's going to be Doncaster Rovers, and it's going to be Port Vale in my opinion, and the playoffs will then be Walsall, Notts County, Wimbledon and Grimsby. In what order, I'm not sure. That's my opinion. Let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comment section down below, as well as getting your thoughts in on your team's performance and result. Who do you think is going up? Who do you think is going down? Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe as well. 80 likes as always would be massively appreciated. Are Bradford City finally going back to the promised land of League One? We should be at levels above League One as well. We should be at least a championship club. So the fact that we're finally getting out of this God-forbidden league after so long, I'm just hoping. There's still 11 cup finals to go. I need to keep level-headed. Don't want to get carried away, but Bradford are going up, aren't we?